Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at the very best cards for GLC from the set Temporal Forces. So typically these videos I'll just be ranking each type and all the new trainers. The ranking is of course a personal opinion however, and the main point of these videos is just to showcase the best new cards for each type basically. So even if you don't agree with the ranking, these videos mainly exist just to showcase the best new cards for GLC. So kicking things off, we have fire types, which honestly I thought fire types were honestly doing quite well in Paradox Rift, right? We had the new Chi-Yu, which was quite good. But in this set, we've kind of like dialed it right back, and they are last place with just a single card that I thought was worth mentioning, Senti Scorch, which still isn't as good as the Senti Scorch that mills cards, the one from, I believe it's Sword and Shield, I want to say? Yeah, Sword and Shield that mills cards, but this one is okay if you're building a burn deck, and exclusively a burn deck, which I'm not even sure if that's a thing in GLC, but I'm sure someone out there can try. Charring Breath for 2 farm G does 180, but it only works if your opponent's active is burned, so it's effectively 200 for 2 energy, which is very respectable, to be honest, on a single prize GLC attacker, but, it does require your opponent's active to actually be burned. Now, one thing that I could have mentioned actually, and I will give an honorable mention to it now, is the Macargo from the set, which says, I believe, if your opponent switches from the bench to the active, their new active Pokemon is now burned. So you could use that Macargo in partner with the Senti Scorch for like a small burn deck, I guess, and then use other fire type attackers. But yeah, just an option, and thought it was worth mentioning. It seems a bit pitiful, I know, compared to the other types in this list, but yeah, fire types not doing super well. Neither is metal types, however. Only one new card that I thought was worth mentioning, and that was Matang with the ability Metal Maker, which still isn't really as good as the Magenzo, which can just ramp all the energy you want from your hand. But there is some interesting Metagrosses in GLC, so I thought this Matang was still worth mentioning. And, if you're building around Metagross, then you might as well include this Matang. I mean, it's just a straight upgrade to all the other ones. So, yeah, pretty good card overall. Next up, however, we do have lightning types with just one entry on this list, seeing a bit of a theme here, but don't worry, there will be more of each type moving forward. We have Raichu with the attack Entangling Bolt, which is a super interesting attack. Does 50 damage to each other Pokemon in play with any damage counters on it. Both yours and your opponent's, however. So this will hurt your own Pokemon if you've taken spread damage yourself. However, this is a very good spread card in a lot of situations. So Lightning Spread is kind of a deck, I believe, with the... Oh, what's it called? It's going to come back to me. Regieleki. The one that does 120 and then 40 to 2 Pokemon. So there is at least some other lightning cards you could pair this up with. Of course, you got like Raichu, Flappy to get it going. You got Generator. There is definitely ways of playing this card, and 50 spread, quite a lot of damage in GLC. So, yeah, honestly, I think this Raichu could be pretty solid overall. Next up, though, is we do have water types, and we've got Feraligatr and Sharpedo. Sharpedo, unfortunately, was not good enough to get its own English translation just yet, so I have to read that one out. Bite Away does 50 damage, which isn't terrible, but, it's 50 damage. Flip 3 coins. For each heads, discard a random card from your opponent's hand. There is sort of this pile of water control stage 1 cards, and I'm really not sure if they're good enough just yet to build a proper water control deck. But if you really wanted some hand disruption that was quite powerful, then this Sharpedo might be alright. It is coin flips, I know. There is like Glimwood Tangle you could use to influence this, but still, it is relying on coin flips, which is why water types are still quite low on this list. But Sharpedo, nothing terrible. Then Feraligatr is very scary. So Giant Wave does 160, and you can't use Giant Wave next turn. However, if you place 5 damage counters on Feraligatr, you do 280 instead, which is enough to KO stuff like Torterra. It will KO Wailord just outright, even with HP modifiers. So, yeah, Feraligatr, very scary attacker. You could definitely build a water deck around Feraligatr, in my opinion. And yeah, definitely a one to try out. Something that I'd like to try out, honestly, in GLC. So, yeah, very cool card. Next up, though, is we have Dark types. Only one new Dark type, but a new Stadium Dangerous Jungle really does help them. So during Pokemon Checkup, put 2 more damage counters on each Poison Pokemon, except any Dark Pokemon. So which Dark Pokemon inflicts poison? Galarian Weezing. Galarian Weezing puts 4 damage counters for poison. This takes it up to 6. Fantastic. There's also like a Toxicroak, I believe it's Dark type, that increases poison damage even further. So that's a nice option. If you want other options to inflict poison, there's the Garbodor, which says if you have a stadium in play, then you can poison both active Pokemon if you really want to. So yeah, Dangerous Jungle. I definitely think this card will be very good for Dark decks. This Sableye, not so much, but still, Damage Collector could be quite fun to mess around with if you enjoy Dark spread decks. So yeah, Dark types in 7th place. Next up, those, we have Grass types. We do have a Whimsicott, which does have a very powerful ability, allowing you to heal or damage from your active Grass Pokemon, aka Torterra. However, you will have to discard all energy, so what this Whimsicott really wants you to do is have both a Venusaur and a Torterra setup, which might be a bit too much to ask for, but it basically just means that even if you only have one energy attached to Torterra, Venusaur will say it counts for 2, then you can discard it, heal or damage, and nothing's lost really because it's just one energy attachment. So yeah, Whimsicott could be very powerful, but again, a bit limiting and does discard all energy. Bramblegast and Rabasca are very cool though. Bramagast has Weedy Resilience, which says for each prize card your opponent's taken, this Pokemon gets plus 50 HP. And this will stack actually with Cricketune that increases your HP by plus 40 anyway. So, it's a pretty safe combo. And then Powerful Needles is flip a coin for each energy attaches Pokemon. This attack does 80 damage for each head. So you only really need to get 2 heads to be doing a very respectable 160. So yeah, just stack a bunch of energy on this with either Cherrim or Venusaur, and yeah, you're good to go. So Bramblegast, a very playable GLC card. We also have Rabasca, which is basically just bench barrier, but for grass and stage 1. Also, Psychic isn't terrible if your opponent is playing like a Sandy Scorch Mill deck or something, for example. Like you could KO stuff like that with Psychic, which is cool. But yeah, overall, definitely there for the Spherical Shield ability. But yeah, Bramblegast, definitely a highlight for me personally. Next up, though, is Colors types. We have several Pokemon that do already kind of have a place in GLC, like Cincina, for example. There's already the discard 1, draw 2. So it's kind of difficult to warrant playing another Cincino over that one. But in case you can't get a hold of that one, or you just want another attacker, Special Roll doing 70 damage for each special energy attached to Cincino is very, very strong in comparison, or, well, not in comparison, but in partner with stuff like Archops. So yeah, very scary card overall. Pidove and Unfezient aren't like super great, but they could be quite funny. Like Pidove has some synergy with Gape Drill Bog, then you could like Red Candy up to, well, you don't need Red Candy, but straight into Unfezient could be quite funny, but yeah, a bit awkward though. The Dunsparce is just quite a nice flat draw 3, shuffle in. However, you could also, well, you can make the argument that it's not super great because you would lose the Dunsparce, Dunsparce? No, not the Dunsparce, sorry, Dunsparce. The one that removes weakness from Colorless Pokemon. So you'd have to lose that, but if it didn't matter in the matchup, then, you can just bench it, evolve it, draw 3. So yeah, the Dunsparce. Quite a nice option for Colorless overall. Then in 4th place, we have Fighting types, Rylancanth, Drillbur, and Great Tusk. Rylancanth is a super interesting one, even though I couldn't find any immediate uses for this card. Just says your evolved Pokemon can use attacks from their previous evolution. If there's any like stage 2 fighting types that have pretty good stage 1 attacks, then that'd be cool to use, but honestly I can't think of any immediately, but something worth bearing in mind. Drillbur with the ability Dig About I thought was really cool because a lot of fighting type energy acceleration comes from the discard pile, so having Drillbur to just immediately bin through energy, very viable, quite like this card. Great Tusk is a bit meh, but 80 damage, and if your bench have any damage counters on them, does 160 instead. Could modify that quite easily with stuff like Dojos, so Angry Charge, fairly decent. And you also have like the ancient support for this as well. Like you could use Sada, even though it's a bit awkward, and you could stick a capsule on this thing to give it 200 HP. So yeah, could definitely do some cool things with Great Tusk in fighting types. Next up though is we have Psychic types. Got Bronzong, Ribombee, Fluttermane, and Iron Valiant. Now Bronzong is the most interesting one to me personally because I'm pretty sure there's a Bronzor in Expanded that can evolve if you went second. Now, unfortunately, I think that Bronzor might actually be a Metal type, which is a bit of a shame, because you could have done some like really annoying, disgusting things with this card, but Evolution Jammer, 30 damage, your opponent can't evolve any Pokemon, basically. Yeah, that's very disruptive against a lot of GLC decks that kind of need Evolution Pokemon just to do anything, so yeah, Bronzong, very scary card. Ribombee's also pretty decent, but it's like one of these meme effects where you have to like assume your opponent won't switch out or evolve or anything like that. But Business Wages could be quite cool. Fluttermane is a bit more niche, but again has access to ancient support, and Flying Curse is decent synergy with other spread attackers in GLC, so I quite like Fluttermane in that regard. Iron Valiant, again, future support. Give this thing a future capsule. Twin lasers is doing 40 base and then 20 to 1 your opponent's benched, and also has free retreat. So yeah, seems pretty decent overall for psychic types. Yeah, psychic types definitely seem to be favored a bit in GLC. They do definitely get more like interesting cards than most other types. But as for new supporters, which once again are second place, to be fair, there's like just so many good ones. Cryptomaniacs Deciphering, I know the real translation is like Codebreakers Deciphering, but yeah. Search your deck for 2 cards, shuffle your deck, and put them on top of your deck in any order. So decks that need Mallow, I guess, can play an extra copy of Mallow technically, which will kind of break the rules of GLC or whatever, but I doubt Mahone will remove one or the other. They'll just let you play both if you really want to, but they do essentially do the same thing. Also have Eri, which is like more of a control card, but if you know your opponent has like a red candy off the previous turn or something, then Eri is very nasty. Could also be good in just general GLC control decks, so yeah, quite a scary card. Morty's Conviction is just like generic draw support if you don't have like N or anything like that, and you just, starting out in GLC and you want more stuff. And then Salvatore is a wee bit more niche because it requires the thing you're evolving to not have an ability, so kind of like Bronzong, but yeah, again, quite niche. Lastly, or second to last actually, we have some new items and tools to quickly take a look at. Buddy Poffin, phenomenal card, probably the best card in the set for GLC, hands down. Just finding 2 basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less, massive consistency boost. Hand Trimmer is a bit of a meme, but if you get to that point in the game where both players have 9-10 cards in hand, it could be quite brutal to lose 5 one-offs in your deck, so yeah. I don't think Hand Trimmer is worth ruling out. It is a bit more niche, but in a format when you're only allowed one-offs, is there any real downside? You're just throwing one-off Hand Trimmer in your deck, really? I know it's taking up a valuable deck slot, but again, could be a nasty surprise for some opponents, so cool. Emergency Board is kind of just like Escape Board, but a bit worse, but if you want more treat options, it's there. Heavy Baton is again a bit more niche, but it's a Wailord card, so I know Wailord has like better tools, and there's I guess Wailord does have better tools. There's like Steelix as well, though, that have like high retreat costs, so you could use this there, but oh wait, you can't even play Steelix. What am I saying? Yeah, Steelix is unviable because of Onyx, so yeah, that sucks. I really wish that wasn't a thing in GLC. Like, I really, really wish it wasn't a thing, but yeah. Heavy Baton, still kind of cool though. And lastly, we got the new stadiums, Dangerous Jungle and Full Metal Lab. I think these are the best cards in the set. I know I said number 1 was tools and items, but yeah, new stadiums for me are the clear winners. Dangerous Jungle just has so many applications for dark decks and poison decks in general, so yeah, very cool card overall and should be very interesting to test out, I guess. There's also like a lot of grass types, like Aridos, for example, that inflict poison, so trying it out with them would be very cool. And then Full Metal Lab saying all metal Pokemon in play, so will apply to your opponent's Pokemon, which is quite risky, but mainly for yours, of course. Takes 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon, so after applying weakness and resistance. So it won't give you much protection against fire types, you'll still have to rely on like Frying Pan for that, but still, minus 30 does stack quite a bit, especially in formats like GLC where the damage isn't ludicrously high, so yeah, very good card overall. So just some closing thoughts. Thanks for watching. Decent set for GLC. The trainers are pretty good for GLC overall, I would say. There's some definitely like more beginner-friendly trainers. So if you're on the fence about starting GLC, then this set would be a good one to join. There's a lot of like decent cards. Like Feraligatr, for example, is a great stage 2 to build around. There is some Paradox cards that can be used across multiple types, which is cool. So, if you pick up like an Ancient Booster Capsule or a Future Capsule, that kind of thing, you could use them across several different typings, which I quite like. But, just something worth bearing in mind. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about these GLC buffs down below. And yeah, thank you for watching.